joyful ring or caroling. One seems to hear words of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Yeah, let it ring while people sing songs of good cheer. Christmas is here. Merry, 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 merry Christmas. Merry, 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 merry Christmas. Hark how the bells, sweet silver bells, all seem to say, blow cares away.
Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Great to have you in the conversation with us. 888-589-8840 is the number to call. Let's grab clips 1 and 2, Rob. Talk about the war on Christmas. Glad to take any of your calls on, give you opportunity to confess your transgressions against some of the... I didn't even know these rules existed. But J.J. Jasper informed me today that these rules existed, and I believe we have all sinned and fallen short of JJ's Christmas rules. So if you'd like to confess, you can do that. A couple of quick things. The war on Christmas continues. The Navy's actually canceled a nativity. The Navy in Bahrain had one atheist complain. I mean, you talk about the tyranny of the minority. One individual complains, and so they yanked a traditional nativity presentation. It was a live nativity. It was a long-standing tradition at the Naval Support Activity Base in Bahrain, featured the children of military personnel dressed as shepherds, wise men, along with Mary and Joseph, was part of a longer festival that included tree lighting, Christmas music, photographs with Santa Claus and a camel. All of that's gone. All of that's out of here. All of that's history because an atheist felt that he had the right and the freedom to impose his values on everybody else. Remember, these are the people say, no, you can't impose your values on somebody else. That's not right. That's not proper. Well, these atheists evidently have no problem doing that very same thing. Now, we've got our naughty and nice list. We've made some changes in that, and I don't know if I've got that in front of me, but we had to move LL Bean back to the naughty list. I told you here that they had a Christmas catalog. Turns out we can't find any trace of it. So LL Bean is off the nice list, and they're back on the naughty list, and they ought to be on the really naughty list. If they lied to us about that, then they are on the naughty list. Urban Outfitters was one of the stores that's been on our naughty list for some time now, and they have a whole batch of profanity-laced Christmas products that they're selling as part of the holiday season. They've got a $24 candle that uses the F word in it. They've got a reminisce book, an $18 reminisce book that's got the F word in it. They've got a photo album that's got the F word on the label. They've got a flask that's emblazoned with the S word. They've got an $8 Merry Christmas B word mug, and it goes on. I mean, most of the stuff I can't even read on family radio. And somebody did a poll on Santa Claus. No surprise here that 44% of the American people believe that Santa Claus is a Democrat, and only 28% believe he is a Republican. Well, there's no question he's a Democrat. He gives stuff to people that somebody else paid for. I mean, that's what he does. They don't have to work for it. They don't have to earn it. They don't have to show up for work to get it. It just magically shows up. So there's no question that he is a Democrat, and 44% of the American people smart enough to figure that out. And the same poll said, look, if grandma got run over by a reindeer, would you press charges against Santa? And 61% said they wouldn't. Santa ran over their own grandmother. They would not press charges against Santa. And it's interesting, 33% of Democrats would press charges, but only 19% of Republicans. That sounds a little bit suspicious to me. Robert Jeffress was on Bill O'Reilly last night talking about this war on Christmas. Got two clips from Robert Jeffress. He's the pastor of First Baptist Church in Dallas. He's got a radio program right here on the AFR Talk Network, Pathway to Victory. And I want you to hear two of his sound bites from his conversation with Bill O'Reilly last night on the war on Christmas. Let's listen.
I think there are two reasons, Bill. I think one reason is a lot of Christian leaders have the wrong idea about Jesus. They see Jesus as this little wimpy guy who walked around plucking daisies and eating bird seed and saying nice things, but never doing anything controversial. The fact is, Jesus did confront his culture with truth, and he ended up being crucified because of it. So that's one reason. But I think an even more at home home reason is pastors don't like controversy, many of them. They're afraid of losing church members, getting involved in a lawsuit. And I believe it's time for pastors to say, you know, I don't care about controversy. I don't care whether I'm going to lose church members. I don't care about building a big church. I'm going to stand for truth regardless of what happens.
Amen, brother. Woo! How good does that sound? So that's Robert Jeffress. He's just bringing it. Look, people have a completely erroneous understanding of who Jesus was. He took a whip to people in the temple. Ladies and gentlemen, a whip is a weapon. That was an act of physical violence, an act of physical force. I mean, he was worked up. He was agitated when he went into the temple and cleaned it up. And, you know, like Robert Jeffress says, you don't crucify people for being nice. Everybody thinks Jesus was the nicest man that ever lived. Probably was. But you don't crucify people because they're nice. You crucify people because they are bold, because they are courageous, because they will not bend, because they speak truth to power, because they confront evil without backing down. That's why you crucify people. So Jesus, not the gentle Jesus, meek and mild that a lot of people think he is. And that call on Robert Jeffress' part for pastors to bring it, to stop worrying about controversy, stop worrying about what people think, stop worrying about some kind of lawsuit, and just start telling the truth without backing down, without apology. Here's clip number 2, Robert Jeffress on Bill O'Reilly.
Christian, Judeo-Christian people who believe in that philosophy outnumber the secularists, maybe 6 to 7 to 1. But you don't see them bringing it to the secularists.
Bill, you are so right. Rasmussen reported, I saw the poll yesterday, that 76% of Americans believe that Christmas ought to be about celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ. Any imbecile knows that Christmas is about Christ. We still divide our calendar by the birth of Jesus Christ. We are in the majority, and we ought to start acting like we're in the majority instead of cowering in fear and becoming wimps. If we don't stand up, we're going to lose these very real rights that our forefathers died to provide us with.
So he says, look, an imbecile knows that Christmas is about the birth of Christ. An imbecile knows that. It's ridiculous. It's stupid to think that it's about anything else. And that's why I've said, look, this is a war on Christ, because people are upset with Christmas because of the first 6 letters of that word. Well, let's grab some phone calls. Let's go to Nick in Mississippi. Nick, you're on Focal Point. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian, you make me feel a little bad. I'm on my way to buy my wife 2 appliances for Christmas, but she asked for them, so what am I supposed to do now?
Well, I'll tell you something, Nick. My wife, Debbie, would say, knock yourself out. If that's what your bride wants, then that's what you give her for Christmas. And God bless you. That's what Debbie wanted for Christmas for me. That's what I gave her. She was a happy camper. Your wife was going to love you for it. So you are absolved, Nick, of all transgressions.
She wants to buy me something to cook for me. I mean, how can I say no?
That's right. There you go. I like the way you think. All right, that's Nick in Mississippi, on his way right now. I mean, confessing en route to transgressing one of J.J. Jasper's rules of Christmas. Let's go to Missy, Holly Springs, Mississippi. Missy, you're on Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
Yes, I just wanted to make a comment about the getting a gift that you didn't want. I feel like most of us are taught as children to always show appreciation for receiving a gift,
yes,
even if it's not something that you want. And I'll tell you, my family is so large that at Christmas now we do Dirty Santa. And this one time I got one of those weather monitors. And at the time, I just, grinned and bared it. And I said, thank you. And I hated it. But I actually grew to really appreciate it.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. All right, Missy. So it worked out. Good for you. And I think that's just courtesy. It's just politeness. Here somebody has given you a gift, and I think it's definitely important to appreciate that and to respect that. If you allow your displeasure at the gift to show, I mean, that's basically, to me, a very selfish thing, because this person has extended themselves to you in some way. And I think it's good to appreciate it. The hazard for me, when you pretend to like a gift, which you think you ought to do out of courtesy, or be at least be thankful. You maybe don't want to get overly enthusiastic and that kind of thing. I'm afraid of somebody to give me something I don't like, and then I say I like it so much, and then I keep getting the same thing, and I didn't like it the first time, and it keeps showing up. So that's the only hazard there. Let's go to EJ in Louisiana. EJ, you're on Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
Hi, I'm calling from West Lafayette, Indiana, and I had a comment that's not about the Christmas stuff, but you made that little comment about the naval place and the Christmas, and I've thought for a long time, any of those kind of situations, why can't we who want, in this case, Christmas, why can't everybody that wants it write or call or whatever the one atheist did and overwhelm them with the opposite view?
Yeah. Well, and I think you're right. And Robert Jefferson, that clip from Bill O'Reilly, said, look, 76% of the American people think that Christmas ought to be about celebrating the birth of Christ. Just like, thank you, EJ, for the call. I appreciate it. Just like we think that celebrating July 4 ought to be about celebrating the birth of the United States. Imagine somebody celebrating July 4 and being told, look, you can't use an American flag. You can't sing God Bless America. You can't sing the Star Spangled Banner in any school program. Let's say you have a summer school. If you have a summer school program, you can't use any patriotic music. You can't have anybody dressed up in a colonial outfit. You can't even mention the name of George Washington or the Founding Fathers. You can't fly an American flag because there'd be something inappropriate about celebrating the birth of America by actually celebrating the birth of America. That's how just absurd this whole thing is. And, EJ's point is exactly right. Look, the bulk of the American people are fine with this. And, you think about this one lone atheist in Bahrain, of all places, being able to impose his will on the majority. What we're always told by these very same people, when we complain about programming on television, they say, well, look, just turn it off. Don't watch it. Nobody's making you watch it. Just turn it off. But when we try to use the same line of reasoning with them, perfectly consistent to me, hey, you don't like this live nativity at the naval supply, whatever this thing is in Bahrain, don't go. Nobody's making you go to this thing. Nobody's going to tie you to the bumper of a truck and drag you to this thing and make you go to this live nativity event at the Naval Support Activity Base in Bahrain. But for some reason, when we ask them to apply the same reasoning that they want us to follow, all of a sudden it's a completely different deal. And don't forget, the Constitution, First Amendment, guarantees the free exercise of religion. Congress cannot prohibit the free exercise of religion. Some agents of the government steps in to prevent a nativity scene. That's prohibiting the free exercise of religion. Back in 5.